In this video, I'm going to teach you a technique that will help you last longer in bed, control your ejaculation, and even have non-ejaculatory orgasms. Hey guys, I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos. And grab my free ejaculation control guide through the link in the video description below. So I'm going to teach you a technique that will help you last longer in bed, control your ejaculation, and have non-ejaculatory orgasms. So this is a practice known as the power lock. Sometimes it's also called the big draw. And this is a method to, again, move sexual energy out of the genitals, move it elsewhere in the body to control ejaculation and even build up to these full body states of orgasm without ejaculating, right? So I first taught a version of this technique several years ago. You've probably seen the video, and I no longer practice it myself the way that I taught it in this older video. You know, back then I was using a lot of tension, a lot of physical tension, flexing all the muscles, squeezing everything to really like shove this arousal up into the brain. And that can cause some undesirable side effects. Eventually found that it was making me overheat a bit. I was having headaches and just overall ended up being a bit unpleasant for me. So this version of the practice is what I use mostly now, at least some alternations of it. And it's a little more gentle. It's even a bit more simple than that practice. So I think you're going to really enjoy it. So basically this is a method that you use when you're very aroused. And what happens is, for a man, when you're becoming aroused during sex, during self-stimulation, your sexual energy is expanding, and it eventually reaches a point where it has to move. There's no more room in the genitals to hold all this sexual energy, so it moves out the path of least resistance, which for most men is the penis. They lose it, they ejaculate, right? With this practice, we are creating a new pathway for that sexual energy to move in, and that's upward in the body, so that instead of ejaculating it out, we take that sexual charge, move it out of the genitals and upward in the body, and now that sexual energy is stored in the body, our arousal in the genitals is lowered, so now you can keep having sex, and eventually this builds you up into these states of full body orgasm. Now, it's important to understand when I talk about full body orgasm, non-ejaculatory orgasm, this is completely different than an ejaculatory orgasm. Most men are expecting the exact same sensations, same feelings and experience as an ejaculatory orgasm minus the ejaculation. But non-ejaculatory orgasms are different. It's more of a state that you are in, right? And there's no release of energy, which is why it's easy to overlook it, because when you've ejaculated, you've released your energy. So there's a sense of gratification, of satisfaction at the end of that, because you're no longer aroused. You say, well, I have no more desire to continue, so I'm done. And you have that kind of pleasant fatigue and exhaustion following the ejaculation. When you have a non-ejaculatory orgasm, again, there's no release of your energy. So there's no real drop off in energy. So it's less obvious that you've reached any type of completion, right? Because you can keep going, keep raising these orgasmic states. So just keep that in mind when you're learning to open up to new types of orgasm. That's what it really is an opening up, changing your reference point for what an orgasm is. I challenge you to redefine an orgasm as any sort of pleasurable sensation in the body. And then once you accept that as your new model of an orgasm, you can begin to really amplify pleasure, amplify pleasurable sensations, and build up into these powerful states of orgasm. Full body orgasm is a state, unlike the ejaculatory orgasm, which is a peak orgasm that has a sharp beginning, you plateau, and then you drop off. It's a very short-lived experience. But again, full body orgasm is something that you're in, and it can be sustained, okay? So just a bit of context to open up to a new orgasmic experience. The success you have with this method will depend on a lot of factors. If you've done some sort of underlying energetic work, which I highly recommend that you do, follow my Qigong playlist, follow my Breathwork playlist. This helps your body to open up and to start to sort of rewire your sexual experience and your ability to hold a high capacity of sexual energy. For some people, if you do no preparatory work, you don't prepare your body for the incredible high voltage of harnessing, hot, aroused sexual energy, it can be too much for you to handle. You can get headaches, you can get insomnia, you might feel a little weird. So it's important to understand if you're experiencing this, then you should discontinue this type of sexual practice and only focus on the fundamentals, doing some Qigong practice, working with the Microcosmic Orbit. This is why in my 6-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, I spend several weeks building up a very, very strong foundation so that you can safely manage your sexual energy. This approach is what allows you to have the greatest success and an overall balanced approach, a very enjoyable experience of non-ejaculatory sex. So just keep that in mind. All right, I know there's a lot of talk, but there's a bit of context required for this type of practice. So basically how you use this technique is, again, really you can use it at any point, when you want to move some energy in your body, but specifically in this context, in the context of controlling ejaculation and getting into a full body orgasmic state, you use it when you're at a pretty high level of arousal. So let's say on an arousal level of 1 to 10, 1 being, no real arousal, 10 being you're ejaculating, right? 10 is the point of no return, the point at which the ejaculation response in your body is triggered. You don't want to wait until you're at a 10 to do this technique. In the beginning, you want to be, no more than 8, maybe 7 or 8. It's a lot more safe to play with that in the beginning. As your skill develops, you can get closer to the edge and use this technique. But in the beginning, you want to avoid getting too close to the point of no return, or else you'll go over the edge and it will be impossible to use this technique successfully. So basically, you stimulate your sexual energy. Again, I recommend you practice this by yourself. It's a lot easier to learn this sexual kung fu techniques when you're, you don't have the performance pressure being with a partner. It's just a lot easier to rewire your own sexual habits first before you integrate them into sex. So self-stimulate yourself, whatever you're having sex with your partner. Once your arousal starts to build, once you get about, let's say 70% of the way to the point of no return, you stop all arousal and then use this technique I'm going to show you, all right? Now I'll guide you through the technique. Basically, we're going to do 9 deep breaths, and then we're going to take the last breath, take a deep inhale, hold the breath, and while you're holding the breath, you're going to do a chin tuck. So you're going to tuck the chin down, kind of like a yogic lock, tuck the chin down. And this is optional, but you can try a very slight engagement of the pelvic floor, meaning that it's like you have to pee and you're holding it back. It's that kind of engagement in the pelvic floor. This is optional. Personally, I don't use this much anymore. As I've talked about in other videos, too much tension in the pelvic floor can make premature ejaculation worse. But when you're doing this technique, that engagement can help you to really draw the energy up. So I recommend you play around with this. Try doing no tension in the pelvic floor and try a little bit of engagement, okay? So that's it. We take 9 deep breaths, we hold the breath, tuck the chin, and optionally squeeze the pelvic floor just a little bit, hold the breath. And this creates sort of a lock in the body. And then we're going to use our awareness to move the energy. So let's just try that technique first, okay? So 9 deep breaths, and then a deep breath and hold, do the locks. You may become lightheaded doing this. This is very powerful breath work that we're doing. If you become really lightheaded, just bend over, place your hands on the ground. I recommend doing this sitting or laying on the ground when you do it the first time, okay? So go ahead and do 9 deep breaths with me, in and out the nose. Last one, exhale all the air. Take a deep breath. Hold the breath, tuck the chin, gently contract the pelvic floor and hold. Then we need to exhale, let out a sigh. So pretty simple, right? And so now we're going to add a bit more engagement. We're going to add now some internal energetic engagement using our mind to guide the chi, to guide the sexual energy, okay? So the physical engagements are one aspect, but the internal engagements ultimately is what we're developing. And eventually you'll be able to use no real physical engagements and just use your mind power to draw the energy up. But this is a good training tool. We're going to do the same thing, 9 deep breaths, hold these kind of gentle body locks, the chin tuck, optional, squeeze the pelvic floor gently. And now while you're doing that, place your awareness in the belly. So about an inch below the navel, below the belly button, and straight inside the body. the region of the lower dantian. This is an energy center in the body. So you're gonna hold your awareness there. You even feel like there's a ball spiraling there. Like the spiraling motion can help gather that sexual energy out of your genitals. So let's do that, all right? So 9 breaths. Exhale the air, hold it out for a bit, then take a deep breath. Hold the breath, tuck the chin, optionally squeeze the pelvic floor, let the belly relax, and hold the awareness in the belly. Feel it spiraling here in the belly center. Just focus on that completely, all senses engaged there. Exhale. Then you'll just sit for a moment. Just feel, relax your whole body, feel. So when you're working with aroused sexual energy, when you're doing this in a sexual context, you'll know that you were successful with the technique because, so if you have an erection, right, when you start, you're very aroused, you have an erection, your erection will subside. It'll start to become flaccid, and you'll feel that some of this pressure, the sexual pressure in your genitals, it's moved. It's now moved into the belly and diffused here. You may be asking, why are we moving into the belly? I've heard that you're supposed to draw the energy into the head, into the brain. This is the best starting point because the lower dantian is in the belly. This is like our energetic battery. And when you first bring the sexual energy into the belly, you start to build up your reservoir of energy. This is a much safer place to store and digest and ground the energy. Bringing the energy up into your head can be a bit too fiery for most people. It can be too ungrounding. If you don't have your front channel open, if you're unable to ground this, it can cause some issues for you, right? So we're not going to move the energy into the head with this technique. That's more of an advanced technique. That's what I get into more in my, my 6-week course and things like that. So, but this is plenty to start with. You can get into full body orgasm states just pulling the energy into the belly. All right, so we're going to go through it one more time, just kind of review. I'll give a few additional points on the technique as well. But again, we're doing 9 deep breaths, a deep breath and hold, tuck the chin, optional pelvic floor, slight engagement, and keep the belly relaxed as you're doing this. We want to make it as effortless as possible. That's why I prefer to use no tension in my pelvic floor. I just use my awareness to move the energy, but you can play with the different physical engagements to see what's most effective for you. All right, so let's do one last one here. So 9 deep breaths. Filling and emptying the lungs. Exhale all the air. Hold the breath out for a second. And then take a deep breath. Hold the breath, tuck the chin, possibly engage pelvic floor, relax the belly, hold your awareness in the belly. Feel a spiraling ball in the center of the belly. And then feel it's almost like a vacuum. It's pulling all the sexual energy out of the genitals, like a vacuum, just sucking it right up here into the belly center. Just hold as long as it's comfortable. And when you need to, exhale. Just kind of shake out your body. Release any tension. Let out a sigh. Just feel your feet on the earth, kind of grounding. All right, so that's the technique. Again, when you're doing this with aroused sexual energy, it's very powerful. Okay, it's going to pull that sexual energy out of your genitals, and you're going to have this subtle orgasm in your belly center. It's really, really incredible. And again, the more you're able to focus on your belly, relax your body, and feel that sexual energy being drawn in here, the more effective this technique is going to be. Now, it takes some practice. Okay, this may feel a bit odd, a bit unusual, but with a bit of practice, this can become very natural for you. So you may be wondering, how does this fit into sex? How could I possibly do something like this when I'm with a partner, right? So this is why it's important to practice by yourself. when you're just doing, self-cultivation, working with your own sexual energy, it doesn't matter if you're making it mechanical, right? You just practice it until you start to really get a feel for it, and then you can be less mechanical with it, right? So you can try doing it in different positions, laying on your back, laying on your front, and you can start practicing it with a partner. So when you're with a partner, it's as simple as taking 9 breaths. You can be doing this while you're, actively making love, but then stop after the 9th breath, take the deep breath and hold the breath and use the power lock. So again, it's important that you stop stimulation before you hit the point of no return and then do this method. So you do not continue stimulating while using this method. Well, you can eventually, but in the beginning when you're training, you want to keep your arousal, again, close to that 70, 80% level. If you get too hot, it's hard to come back down, okay? So try it at slightly lower arousal levels. Then as your skill develops, as you feel you're really able to draw that sexual energy away, you can start to get to higher and higher arousal levels. And so you might wonder, how many times can I do this? In the beginning, I recommend that you only do 3 in a given day, meaning that you stimulate your energy, you get aroused, then you use the technique to draw the energy out, and you take a little breather there. And then from there, you can start to arouse your energy again, go back into stimulation. And once you hit a point of higher arousal, again, use the power lock, draw the energy out, and then you can do that a 3rd time, right? But that's it. Okay, for the first week, do no more than 3 per day. Otherwise, it can be too much of this aroused sexual energy for your body to handle. So you want to slowly acclimate to this incredible firepower of sexual energy that this generates. If you feel like this creates too much heat in your body, use more relaxation, use less force with the breathing, don't use any muscular locks. As I said, eventually you can just use your mind alone to do this technique. But if you really have, if you're experiencing headaches, you notice you're experiencing irritability, signs of overheating, then take a break from working with aroused sexual energy, do more grounding practices, take some cold showers, eat some cooling foods, things like that, okay? All right, thank you for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this technique. This is a very, very powerful technique. And again, it's an alternative to ejaculating. Instead of ejaculating your energy out, you draw it within and you reach this sort of completion in your arousal by drawing it upward in the body. If you're interested in learning more techniques to control your arousal, to have full body orgasms, and really go deep into the necessary foundations of successful sexual energy cultivation, check out my 6-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man. Put more information in the description below. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel and let me know in the comments below if this technique worked out for you. What did you experience while you were doing it? I'd love to hear. Have a great day, my friends.